Hola mi gente, ¿cómo están? Mi nombre es Alba Mar, me pueden decir Alba, el canal se llama Serial, estamos aquí para hablar de libros, algunos de ellos en español desde Puerto Rico. Hello, my name is Alba Mar, you may call me Alba, the channel name is Seriela, and we're here to talk about books and some of them in Spanish from Puerto Rico. Today, I'm doing a tag. Yes. I don't know whether you're aware, there's a tag out there called A Book Steve Hasn't Read that has almost become viral here on what Steve Donahue of the BookTube channel of the same name calls BookTube 2.0. It's an original tag by Matthew at Mayberry Book Club. Don't you just love that name? Mayberry Book Club. Yeah. Brings back so many memories. And in that tag, Matthew asks himself, he wonders whether, is there a book that Steve Donahue has not read? And so he takes out a few books to see whether there's a book that he hasn't read. And many, many people have done videos since that day doing the same thing, wondering whether there are books on their bookshelves that maybe Steve hasn't read. So whatever you may think of our ranty content creator extraordinaire, Steve Donahue is to be respected, and I do respect him. Even though there are many, many times when I disagree with him, I have to acknowledge that I've learned a lot from him in my short time on BookTube. And I have added enormously to my TBR because of him. At first, I thought that maybe I wouldn't or I shouldn't participate in this tag. After all, it wouldn't be fair to include my Puerto Rican books. But then I decided that even though I know that Steve could no doubt read our Puerto Rican canon in Spanish, I could make reasonable accommodations for him by limiting my selections to mostly nonfiction books published in English, mostly about Puerto Rico. After all, Steve reads widely and loves nonfiction and history. So, yeah, I'm going to give it a try. And I just want to make clear that I enter this arena in peace. I'm really not interested in dethroning our champ, Hannah, of Hannah's Books, who holds the record so far. So, aquí va. Con mucho respeto, Steve, let's see if you've read any of these books published in English, some of them by Puerto Rican authors, but not this first one. This first one is one of the surprises that I've read this past year, and that is Memoirs of a Korean Queen by Lady Hong. And it's about the tragic death of her husband, the Crown Prince, in Chosun, the Chosun era in Korea. Love that book. This isn't a nonfiction book. This is a fiction. This is a novel called Family Installments, written by an English professor in New York City. His name was Edward Rivera. This one is by Puerto Rican author and published in English, Puerto Rico, The Trials of the Oldest Colony in the World, by Judge José Trias Monge, who ironically was one of the people who perpetuated that colony. One of my favorite books of all time, published in English originally by journalist Manuel Manny Suarez, Two Lynchings on Cerro Maravilla, the police murders in Puerto Rico and the federal government cover-up. I suspect that Steve has read this book. After all, there's a foreword by Samuel Dash of Watergate fame. Then there's the Unsolved Case of Dr. Cornelius P. Rhoads, An Indictment. Very important book, despite the editing faux pas. Then there's American Gunfight, The Plot to Kill Harry Truman and the Shootout That Stopped It, by Stephen Hunter and John Bainbridge Jr. I'm sure that Steve is familiar with the Insular cases. Reconsidering the Insular Cases, the Past and Future of the American Empire, edited by Gerald L. Newman and Tomiko Brown Nagin. This one was a recent nonfiction read for me, a memoir, Signing in Puerto Rico, A Hearing Son and His Deaf Family, by Andres Torres. Also in English, originally published in Spanish but available in English, Puerto Rico's Revolt for Independence, El Grito de Lares, by Olga Jimenez de Wagenheim. This isn't about Puerto Rico, but it is about the Panama Canal, by Olive Sr., Jamaican author, Dying to Better Themselves, West Indians and the Building of the Panama Canal. Last but not least, with the clickbait title, War Against All Puerto Ricans, Revolution and Terror in America's Colony, by Nelson A. Dennis. So, let me know, Steve, what my score is. Okay? Take care, people. Thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate your time. Keep reading. Cuídense mucho, mi gente. Sigan leyendo. Adiós.